taking the team total. I'm taking first quarter, first half, full game, taking it all. OU all the way. I lost so much money on OU.
Our rat's ass back.
Oh, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free.
Cast starts going, all crazy. And they run through our ass like shit through a tin horn, man.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
What is up, and welcome to not another CFB pod. This is the weekend preview show. We're looking at week 16 NFL. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. This is kind of the second edition of our bowl preview. We only have 4 bowl games. Only a couple of them are like really good or like decent, I guess you would say, but still we're warming up. And then obviously after Christmas is when most of the good bowls go down. So we'll have it going. My friend, my co-host, Coda Capper Beast. How we doing, man?
Doing great, man. I mean, shout out the boys. Boys have been hot. It's kind of that Christmas weekend feel. This was my last day of work for the week. So boys are rolling. We got a lot of good games coming up, a lot of good bets coming up.
Yes.
It's good vibes all around, man. It's that Christmas season.
Yes.
Obviously going to have a ton of really good football on this weekend. So I'm locked in, man. I'm hoping the listeners are too, baby.
I'm locked in too, excited. I mean, it's going to be hard to keep up. We talked about so many NFL games on Christmas Eve. We're not used to that. That usually isn't how it works out. So I'm very interested in how my family dynamic works because we're a football family, no doubt. But we also have this is the Christmas Story. We all watch the Christmas Story on. So I'm very interested to see how the traditions meet. I may just have to bring my laptop and just kind of have that over here on the side. We're doing a pretty cool deal. We're renting like a big cabin for everybody to kind of come. It's kind of centrally located. So it's going to be a bunch of football guys, a bunch of meatheads in there. It's going to be fun.
That's awesome. That's
so stay
absolutely.
There'll
awesome.
be some content come from that, no doubt. So keep your eyes on the timeline as always. I guess let's jump in. We got to start talking about the slate, do a little preview, and then we've got picks for you guys as always. Before we jump in, let's talk about the sponsor of this podcast. The BetCoda Sportsbook is a South Dakota owned and operated sportsbook located in the Midnight Star Casino in Deadwood, South Dakota, serving customers in the state. As you enter the Midnight Star, you're slipping to the past of the grand staircase, stunning woodwork, and the elegance of the chandelier. They're for the best lines in Deadwood, so stop by and mention the Coda Sports Gambling Network to receive a free BetCoda t-shirt. Play responsibly, must be 21 years or older to wager. Gambling problems or concerns, call 1-800-522-4700. Shout out to the Coda Cappers. We're getting to the nitty gritty on our Coda Capper CFB kind of contest. Your boys are up there in the top. If I can get Air Force to come through right now for me, which they're up 15-7 right now on Baylor, a lot of time left. But if I get them to come through, I want to finish at least second. I think right now we're first and third, and so I would like to sneak up there and get a 1-2 finish.
Yeah, I think you can do it, man. I think you can do it. Just a couple, really, all it takes is a couple big plays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I was in tonight, put two units on the spread for Air Force, and then a unit on the money line as well. So that would be a big winner for me if we can get that. Let's talk about the bowl games we got coming up, though. The first one we're going to talk about is actually the two on Friday, I like both of these more than the other two, just no doubt. I guess the one we should start with, though, is the Gasparilla Bowl. It's Wake Forest in Missouri going down in Tampa, Florida. Wake Forest just slight favorites in this one. Going to be an interesting game, though. Wake Forest made a point whenever they said they basically didn't care what bowl they went to. They just wanted to play an SEC team. So I've got to play on this game that I'm excited about, which we'll get into. But you have any thoughts on that game, the Gasparilla Bowl?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. That's going to be a really good game. Just there's a lot of premier players as far as obviously Sam Hartman's the big name, but I have a play on that game as well. So I'm really excited about that one. But I just think both those teams probably a little bit of Wake Forest, definitely underwhelming season. Mizzou, I didn't really have a high expectation of them entering the year, but maybe they want to prove themselves as they hung around with a lot of the good SEC teams. Obviously we saw them with that Georgia game. So maybe they want to kind of come in and make a statement. It's big for these two teams, I think, in a certain sense.
Yeah, this is just so much momentum going into the offseason. These where you play someone that's right around your level, but in a different conference, that's really big for your program. Because then you could
recruiting,
say then you could say you're between Missouri and Wake Forest. We literally beat them this offseason or whatever, So it is pretty big. The other game we've got, it's actually the earlier game on Friday. Is another one I think is pretty good. It's the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. That goes down in Shreveport, Louisiana. We've got the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, so right there in their home state, and take on the Houston Cougars. Houston was, they were, I want to say, quote unquote, disappointing just because everyone had such high hopes for them. But really, this is still a pretty darn good Houston team. I've got to play on this, so I wanted to hear kind of what you're
No. I mean, you're completely right there. Houston definitely underwhelming, but still a very solid team. Still a lot of really good players there. And I have a play on this one as well that I absolutely love. I'm so excited to give that play out. But just overall, I really like ULL. I really like Houston. I think they bring a lot to the table. I think this is going to be a fun
good
bowl
programs.
game. They are, and I think it's going to be a really fun bowl game. Some of these teams this weekend are probably teams that maybe people didn't watch because they weren't on national TV all the time. But they're really good squads still. I think it's going to be a good display of some teams maybe you should look out for in the next couple years, obviously.
Yeah, the good programs. Houston's going to the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think next year. So I know so too, yeah. I know some other teams are joining next year, so I assume they are too. Let's move on down to Saturday. We've only got one game because NFL's kind of taken that day over, which is I'm excited about.
Yeah.
We've got Middle Tennessee and San Diego State. This is the Honolulu Hawaii Bowl. I like this bowl. This bowl's always fun. I believe San Diego State's right on a touchdown favorite. I've got to play on this game that I really like. Kind of a, it goes down at 7. So like they'll only be up against probably one NFL game in that slot at least. So we'll see. But again, 2 pretty solid programs people don't maybe think enough about.
Yeah, shout out Mountain West. San Diego State was a team I really liked this year. Yep. So
always have a good team.
Yeah, they really do. And I'll have a play on this one as well that we'll kind of get into a little bit more as far as that spread goes. But I'm excited for this one just in the sense that you're right. They scheduled it perfect. They didn't put it at 4:00 when you had a lot of these other Saturday NFL games going on. I'm going to be flipping the channel between, obviously this game and then obviously our night game going on Saturday for the NFL. There's going to be a lot. Yeah.
There's a little more football to watch,
Right. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of good football on Saturday all day. And I think this will cap it out with a nice college game, obviously, too.
Maybe a sneaky mini cold one classic there. You never know.
Could be, man.
Because the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee, they like to throw the ball around a little bit. And that's always kind of it's an interesting stylistic matchup, we'll say. So I'm excited to hear what you've got. We've also got a game on Monday. It's the Quick Lane Bowl. New Mexico State, Bowling Green. I've got my In the Weeds play right here at the Quick Lane Bowl. New Mexico State, Bowling Green at Ford Field. Once again, they keep giving you guys kind of the stinkers, but I do have a play on it. So, we'll see.
Yeah, there you go. You're right. It's a complete stinker. We joke about it, but at the same time, like, I don't have a play on it as of now, but and I had talked about it a little bit on the CFB Central show as far as maybe I'll find my way down there because the tickets are practically being given away by companies. Most of these mortgage companies and car insurance, like all these different like companies in Detroit are like, we'll give tickets to our employees because like Ford Field's just giving them away pretty much.
Right.
So if I find my way down there, I'm going to have to tail PG on this play.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear, what he's got. I don't really have any plans on that December 26th. I'm off work. I might as well go down there and have a day.
Have some fun.
Know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So if I can find some people to go with, we'll tailgate. We'll make a day out of it, man.
Yeah, that game would be 2:30 your time. I mean, that gets you right out of there in the evening. Go get a nice dinner. That'd be a great time for sure. Okay, so that's our college slate. It's not insane, but the show that will come out Tuesday morning, that's going to be a good one because that's when we really get into some bowls. My team's playing next Thursday. So that'll be fun. But let's jump into from college to NFL. Right now, we got Thursday Night Football on. The Jags are up pretty big on the Jets, 10-point lead right now, and the ball. I don't know. The Jags look good tonight.
Never know, though.
And they have.
10-point lead means nothing.
Yeah, no doubt. It's just that the weather's really bad there in New Jersey, so we shall see. Let's get right into the slate. Let's look at the noon games first. So this is Saturday. Which is going to be different for people, but just be ready. December 24th, we got Bills and Bears, in Chicago. The weather this weekend, if you're looking at totals, beware of the temps because it is going to be nasty this weekend. It's nasty here right now. We're sitting here in like 7-degree weather right now. No, it's 4 degrees. It's dropped a few degrees. So that's cold where I'm from. So check the weather when you're looking at these games. Buffalo favored by 8 here. Bears can score some points. The over-under is only 40.5. But again, big weather concerns. You got any thoughts on Bills Bears?
I don't have any plays on it. You're right, though. You might have to look at the under 40.5. I know that sounds like such a low number, but when you do factor in the cold, you factor in the whole style of that Bills defense is just, it's very, very, it smothers you. They're on you. They're really, really good at not allowing a lot of points. I could see that Bills defense just absolutely dominating the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Allen wouldn't even be required to do much. Like Josh Allen could kind of take a little bit of an off week, not an actual off week, but like he only has to put up 2 touchdowns and then they'll just run the ball the rest of the time and they could get away with it. Like, so absolutely. I could see that game just being a very ugly game that nobody really looks at the end of the season because the Bills are in the playoffs and it don't matter, but they just get away with one of these ugly games,
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the next game on the slate. Texans, Titans. The Titans are absolutely reeling. They've still got first place in the division, but we just said the Jags are playing right now looking pretty good. The Jaguars control their own destiny in the division. So if they just keep winning their games, nothing the Titans can even do about it. They're going to lose the division. So I don't know. Obviously, the Texans have been frisky here for the last couple of weekends. And it doesn't even matter at this point if they win a game. They've pretty much locked up that first spot. So do you think, Tennessee's only 3-point favorites. What do you think? Anything about that game?
My whole thoughts are really what you mentioned is just that the Texans have been so frisky and it makes no sense to me because like there's 1-12 teams that I think are like better than their record. I didn't think the Texans were that good until 2 games ago. They played really good against Dallas, obviously, and then they played really good against KC. They have looked so dominant their past 2 games. I know they lost both those games, but it's been awesome. I really do appreciate everything that the Texans are doing right now, even if they are losing games. It's just a 3.5-point spread feels like such a trap. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's kind of why I brought that up is like, man, that's not a lot of points. If you're thinking about this is a playoff team and this team's getting to have the first pick in the draft. Yeah. So something to keep an eye on there. Just got to keep an eye on the standings this time of year. It's getting pretty interesting. We've got another game that actually, looking at it, you wouldn't think much of, but it actually has a lot to do with the playoffs. Saints at the Browns. Saints are obviously right there in their division, the NFC South. People are saying it's the worst division of all time. It could be. I think it really depends on what they do in the playoff. They're obviously only going to get one team in the playoff, but the Saints are right there and play for it. And there's the Browns who have won a couple games now. They're 6-8, not too terribly far off of the playoff picture in the AFC. I don't know if they could do enough because right now the teams in the playoffs are 8-6. So they would have to have a lot go their way. So they're probably out on playoffs, but could play spoiler here. Looks like the Browns are 3-point favorites at home. So,
yeah, and that's the thing is as much as we say New Orleans is really fighting for that playoff spot, there's a lot to be said about being 3-point underdogs in this game. You know, that is kind of actually a decent amount in the NFL. When we look at that 2.5 that we always talk about a lot, when it hits that 3 and it starts crossing 3, because it may by game time. That's where we kind of get into that number where I'm like, well, I don't know, because I don't have any plays on this. I would have loved to take the Saints. I wanted to believe in the Saints this year. That was they were my choice to win the South this year, and they could still do it. It's just it's been so ugly. They haven't given me any faith in them. It almost feels like you'd have to almost like fall backwards into winning the division at this point. Like, you know what I mean? Like Tampa Bay's not playing good. Saints aren't playing good. It's just going to be who can mess up the least.
You know what they're going to have going their way, though? When one of those teams makes the playoffs, there is no pressure on them. They're going to be playing at home against probably the Cowboys, let's be honest. And there's going to be not a drop of pressure because no one gives them a chance.
Yeah. No, that reminds me of like the Seahawks made the playoffs one year, and I want to say they only had 7 or 8 wins. And that was the game that Marshawn Lynch had like the big run against. They were against the Saints, and they won that game.
The Beastquake.
It was the Beastquake. Like he had his best run, like his monumental highlight of his career probably. And that was a game where they were like 7 and whatever, or 8 and 9, whatever their record was. Like it was they did not have 9 wins. They only had like 7 or 8 wins, I believe. They were really bad that year, and they ended up winning in the first round. I was like, dude, that's why the NFL playoffs are so good. Is you're right. You get these no pressure. Just let Marshawn Lynch cook, man. Like,
yeah, I mean,
that's one of those games, though. Like you said, that could happen with the Saints. That could happen with Tampa Bay, especially
the Panthers.
With Brady. Yeah, exactly, man.
Who knows? Like everyone's alive there in that division. It's such a crazy mess. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around, but here we are, and it's late December, and 5 and 9 teams are alive.
They're in it.
There was at one point, I don't know if it's still possible, but where all the teams could be 6 and 11.
Yeah.
All 4 teams. I don't know if we messed that up by now or not. I have no clue, but anyway, something to keep an eye on. Let's talk about our Lions. It's high time we do. Lions in a great position to make playoffs. This is a great, another one of these like fringe playoff games where we just said the Panthers playing the Panthers in Carolina, but I just said they've got every shot to make the playoffs too. So this is basically another elimination game for the Lions. The Lions are favored by 2.5. So they're thinking it's a close game. Again, weather's going to be at play, but you got any thoughts? I like the way the Lions are running the ball right now.
They are. They're playing really, really well.
The O-line in general.
Oh, offensive line has been something I've loved, since the start. Since they started drafting a lot of these guys, like they got Ragnow, Decker, obviously Sewell. Picked up Jonah Jackson from Ohio State a few years ago in the draft. Like they've really put an emphasis, even before they brought in their new GM Holmes. Like they really did put an emphasis on the line, and it's just been extra between Dan Campbell and the new and the new GM Holmes. But the Lions got to win this one. Obviously, like that's my biggest thought is like you have to win this one. I know it's a tough road game, but it shouldn't be. Like you're the better team in all phases of the game. If you ask me, you got to take care of business because this is what a playoff team would do. But I have a play on this game. It's not what you guys are thinking. Like I'm not going homer all the way. As a gambler, sometimes you got to be smart. So it's a smart play. It's a play I really like. But it's still going to be a tough matchup for the Lions. Like I hyped them up, but it's a tough matchup still because Panthers are they're just as involved. If somebody would have told me
inspired ball,
if somebody would have told me 2 seasons ago that Jared Goff versus Sam Darnold was going to be like a playoff mattering matchup, I would have been like, what? Because he wasn't on the Lions at that point. He was sucking with the Rams. People thought he was out of the league. Same thing with Sam Darnold. Like, these guys, man, they're trying to revive their career, obviously.
Love to see it. Let's talk about some other teams that are factoring in there in the NFC wild card. We got Seahawks at 7-7 at the Chiefs. Kansas City 10-point favorites here. That's a tough matchup for the Seahawks, who are right there in that conversation in the NFC for that wild card spot. They're also still in play there for their division as well. Not too terribly far behind the 49ers. Well, I just made that up because there's several games behind now. That has changed here very
really
quickly.
That the 49ers they really got hot lately.
They haven't lost in a while, and that helps your playoff standings as it turns out. But still, the Seahawks have a chance to make the wild card. Kansas City big favorites. You got any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, Seahawks got to get it going. Last 5 games they're 1-4. Like that can't happen when you're in a playoff run.
Yeah.
As a Lions fan, of course, I'm rooting for the Chiefs to just lay it on the Seahawks because Seahawks are who we're going to be up against. They're the other 7-7 team that people are like, oh, they're in the hunt,
Yeah.
I need the Seahawks to lose, but I don't know, man. I've seen them play some really good ball at times this year. Geno Smith has had 2 different seasons. There's been the games where he's been awful, and then there's been the games where we're like Geno Smith comeback season, everything. Recently, it hasn't been the best Geno Smith. When he started the season, the Seahawks were really hot. I loved what I was seeing out of him. So we got to bring back that Geno Smith comeback season, everything there. We don't want like bad Geno if you're a Seahawks fan.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you put it really well, just that there's been kind of 2 versions of him this year. So another piece of that kind of wild card pie, the Giants at Vikings this weekend, Minnesota 4-point favorites. The Giants last week had a huge matchup with the Commanders, and they were just like, I don't even know that they were the better team, but like every time there was a chance to make a play, they kind of did, Minnesota 4-point favorites here. They've locked up the division. You got any thoughts on that game?
I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan this week.
Have to be. Yeah,
I have to
be.
be. Yeah, I
okay.
have to be. Giants, though, really, really solid what they're doing right now. I don't think anybody expected Danny Dimes and Saquon to really do what they've been doing on offense. But they're moving the ball. They're putting up points. Giants defense is really, really strong. Dable's done a great job with them. I think they started the season maybe a little bit hotter than they are playing right now.
Right.
So that doesn't really play into their cards a ton, but they still pulled off a win last week, a tough win against Washington in the conference. So Minnesota's got they're only 4-point favorites, and that feels scary. You know what I mean? That's one of those numbers where it's like
you would think it would be
Minnesota's
6,
got 11 wins. They're 11-3. It's the same thing we kind of said a couple weeks ago when they played the Lions. Like it's like Minnesota should be favored by like 6, and it's like wait a minute, but we'll see. I still think Minnesota can take care of business.
Absolutely.
Do they cover the 4? That's the questionable part. That's a big number in the NFL.
It is. It can be. Okay, so let's move down the slate. We got one more noon game. Oh, there's a couple more, but Bengals and Patriots. Patriots at 7-7, still somewhat in play there for the wild card, but the Bengals are leading the division right now. They need this one to seal it out, and they're 3-point favorites on the road in Foxborough. Going to be a cold one, I'm sure, up in Boston. You got any thoughts on Bengals Patriots?
Oh yeah, I got a play coming up on this one. And you're right, man. It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be a very, very gritty. Like I think of the Bengals and the AFC North. I think of that as a very gritty conference.
Yes.
And I think of Bill Belichick and the Patriots, just a gritty team. Like they're defensive. They love that. So I think this game could just be an absolute, gridiron battle, the kind of stuff you dream of, if you're like one of those classic NFL guys. So I think we'll have a good one. I got a play on it. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, I'm in, man. I'm in. Okay, so then we've got Falcons, Ravens. Ravens still there in a wild card spot. They're really close in the division with the Bengals still. Falcons are that other team in play, though, for the NFC South, and looks like Baltimore's big favorites by 6.5, and that's interesting because we're still going to have Huntley at quarterback for the Ravens. So what are you thinking on that one?
No respect for Atlanta, man.
Yes.
Hey, they still cover. They still cover. Don't forget that. Like
Yeah.
they fell off from what we were talking about earlier when we said the frisky Falcons early in the season.
Yeah.
But I liked what I saw out of Ritter last week. I really did. And we talked about Algier as, this rookie running back out of BYU and Cordero. There's some pieces there. Like, it's not to say that there's not some pieces. There's some young guys that I really like on that team. Don't be surprised if they come into this game and they kind of shock some people. They could win that game outright. I wouldn't be shocked. But I could also see them just keeping it close because that's what they do. They play hard in these games. We'll see what we get out of the Falcons. They could also just lay an egg. Like that's their thing is at times they're the frisky Falcons. At times they're the faux Falcons, I guess.
The very inconsistent team at times this season. That's why they're 5-9, but they're still alive in that division. So we'll see. All right, so we're jumping to the 3:00 slot now, and I guess I'll just start. Cowboys at home against the Eagles. Huge game. Eagles have locked up basically the number 1 seed. They've locked up the division, so they're taking a week off basically and not playing Jalen Hurts, who he does have an injury. But I think this is a precautionary kind of like, it kind of sounded like at times he could have played this week, but we'll see. But Gardner Minshew is the backup quarterback, is a guy I still really like. Yeah. I'm not sure he's been given enough chances in the NFL as a starter. So this is a huge opportunity for him to come out. If he balls out, maybe next season, somebody who needs a quarterback takes a shot at calling him up. Yeah. So we'll just see. I think he's a really good backup, but Eagles and Cowboys, man, this is a heated rivalry. Cowboys have kind of dominated as of recent. They lost the first matchup between these two early in the season. It was backup quarterback for the Cowboys, Cooper Rush. He that was his, I think it might have been his only loss, but yeah, lost at the Eagles, and Cowboys are 4.5-point favorite. I really like the Cowboys to win this game, but only if Dak Prescott doesn't turn the ball over. He's been turning it over at a crazy pace. I think I saw since he's been in, he's got back healthy, I should say. I think he's got the most interceptions in the league since he's been healthy.
I
So
believe that.
that's not great. Not all of them are his fault. He's had some bad luck too, but still got to not turn the ball over to beat a really good Eagles team.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be rooting for the Cowboys big. I know this one matters to PG a lot because you're right. It's a rivalry. There was a lot of probably words said by the Eagles fans when they beat Cooper Rush earlier this year. So I know PG's kind of looking at this game as like, okay, you guys got our backup. Now we get your backup, you know?
Yeah,
so like
we got to do it.
When we dominate this one, so I'm hoping they do dominate this one. I do like the Cowboys in this one. I don't have a play or anything on it, but I might be able to talk myself into Cowboys. The only thing that worries me with this Cowboys matchup is you mentioned Gardner Minshew is going to be in. RIP Mike Leach. I think Gardner Minshew is going to be kind of playing with a little bit of that on his shoulder.
Yes.
I saw him speaking at Mike Leach's funeral, and he had a lot of really good words to say. And I think that there might be something, sometimes we see people like play better in those kinds of spots. I could be completely wrong on that, and Gardner Minshew has an awful game, but I do think he's going to be playing a little bit for our guy Mike Leach, man.
Yeah, shout out Mike Leach, man. Okay, so we got a couple more. We got Commanders, 49ers. 49ers got a pretty good-sized lead in that division now, but they would love to lock this one up at home. That would also help the Lions, as the Commanders are 7-6-1. The 49ers are 6.5-point favorites there at home, but a really low total. You got any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, got a play coming up on it too, so really excited about that play. Just the biggest thing on this one is just 49ers probably are looking at this one of like, even if they do feel like they have their division locked up and playoffs are fine, they still probably want to see what's coming out of Brock Purdy. Like they have decisions to make, you know what I mean? Like, so they got to see what they get out of Brock Purdy going forward. They want to know what they got going into the playoffs. I don't think the 49ers lay down in this game. I also think that the Commanders obviously are firing up. Great defenses on both sides. So a lot of really good things to look at in this game. Commanders, we'll see if they can pull it off. But, man, the 49ers defense is just so stout right now, man.
Absolutely. Yep. They're playing really good football. Let's look at the Sunday night game. It's Raiders and Steelers. Bit of a stinker. Both teams are 6-8. But I think both teams can still make the playoffs. So this would be kind of an elimination game. It would put them – they'd still be in a tough spot. As we talked about, the AFC wild card's a little harder to get into right now. They're kind of a game ahead. But Pittsburgh, 2.5-point favorites at home. You got any thoughts?
I like what I'm seeing out of the Raiders right now. I might be able to talk myself into a bet there too. Last 5 games for a team that was so bad to start the year, similar to really like how the Lions started this year. The Raiders have kind of done a similar path where they started awful. Last 5 games, man, Raiders are 4-1, and that loss was just a weird fluke to the Baker Mayfield situation. But they've beaten some really good teams. Like I do think the Chargers win was a really nice win, and they put up 40 on the Seahawks. Like that win last week against New England, that was probably a little bit of fluke too. But like that game was going to go to overtime. Like you were taking the Patriots to overtime. Like that was not a bad performance. Sure, have they had to have some things go their way, like with the Jacoby Myers backwards pass? Sure, they've had some things go their way, but they're 6-8 and they're fighting for the playoffs. I got to give them their credit, and I think that the Raiders are much better than their record probably shows.
Yeah, I could see that. They got a ton of talent, especially on offense, but even on defense, guys like Max Crosby. So shout out B-Russ. They got some power. Yeah. Okay, so we do have some games on Christmas Day. There's 3 games, and I really like this first one. Packers at Dolphins. Miami's 4-point favorites there at home. Packers still in play for a wild card spot. We really hope not. We'd rather not see them in the playoffs. Dolphins are in a really good spot there for the wild card. They basically lost their division to the Bills, but they're still right there in a wild card. They've been playing some pretty good football back and forth. 4-point favorite, over under 50. Got any thoughts on our first Christmas Day game?
Oh yeah, I really like this matchup. You're right. That's a really, really fun one. Aaron Rodgers isn't backing down. He knows it's pressure. And the fact that they still are in a potential playoff spot frustrates me because it just shows how bad the wild card race is right now. But he ain't backing down, and I think he's seasoned in his sights right now. And sometimes when Rodgers gets into one of those modes, he'll just absolutely light it up. He looked really good last week. And when you listen to his post-game interview after last week, he was talking about, yeah, a couple teams coming up on our schedule, like we're looking at. And he was mentioning some stuff about the Lions. So I could tell the guy's locked in right now. He's been looking at the games ahead. He's well aware of everybody on his schedule ahead. And he's probably been scouting these teams for weeks. Like, that's just what Aaron Rodgers does. He's a freak. Yep. He's a weirdo. He'll probably come up into this game really hot. But, hey, Dolphins, solid games right now out of them. So it'll be a fun matchup. Like, I'm looking forward to it.
That's a good one to start today. And we usually finish kind of all the present stuff right around lunchtime. So it'll be perfect to roll right into that game. All right, then we got the 3:30 game. It's the Broncos and the LA Rams. I'm going to be in a house full of Sooner fans, so I'm sure we'll be rooting on Baker Mayfield. Half the room will be, and half the uncles who think they're a better quarterback than him will be talking trash. But it'll be a good time. Rams, 2.5-point underdogs at home against the Broncos. Broncos they've played a little bit better maybe the second half of the year, but still two teams that are 4-10. We don't expect too much from this one, but you got any thoughts on it?
Not a ton of thoughts. Just really, I'm hoping Denver wins this one. Denver's defense, I got to give them credit, because as bad as that team has been at 4-10, Denver's defense has really actually been a pretty impressive force for the majority of the year. The funny thing is we went into this year thinking Russell Wilson was going to save them, and like their offense is going to roll. It's like, dude, if you had anybody else at quarterback. Like, if you traded for anybody else, your offense actually might have been decent, and you definitely wouldn't have been 4-10.
There's some way, there's some way to crunch the numbers that they did, where it was like if they had an NFL average quarterback, what their record would be versus what it is.
Oh, I'm sure it would be good, because their defense is solid. Like, if you look up all of their numbers, I don't have them off the top of my head, but I know Denver's numbers are probably top 10 for the majority of these stats.
Yep.
The defense has not been bailed out at all. So I feel bad for them in a certain sense.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about Buccaneers, Cardinals. It's the last game. It's of the weekend. Excuse me. No, there's a Monday night game. It's the last game of Sunday, though. And the Buccaneers are 7.5-point favorites at the Cardinals. Very interesting, but the Cardinals have kind of given up on this season. Will this be the game where the Buccaneers look somewhat like a playoff team? I mean, they've been given every chance to. You have any quick thoughts on this one?
Yeah, man, I can't wait for Tom Brady to have a big game against a 4-10 team, and everybody starts saying,
back.
"Oh, the GOAT!" Like, he's and back, I mean, like, I don't blame him, because like Brady probably could get some steam off a game like this, where like he just lights it up against a 4-10 team with a bad defense, like, and maybe that's what he needs to kind of get a playoff run going. Maybe you need a get right game. I don't know, but not the prettiest matchup.
They've been kind of set up here for an easy one, so we'll see. Low total on that one as well. I don't know who we have for Cardinals at quarterback yet. I think it's a little too early to say. All right, Monday night we have Chargers, Colts. Not the most beautiful matchup, but the Chargers right there in a playoff spot at the Colts. Chargers are favored by 4.5. Justin Herbert's been playing some good football, man. You got any thoughts?
Not really a ton on this one. You're right. Colts probably at 4-9-1. Like, people are looking at them as, well, they're an afterthought, but they play some hard football. I feel like every single game I watch of the Colts, even though they are 4-9-1, they play like they're a team that's playing for the playoffs, like like that they need this game to make it in, and they're going to give a hard fight, and they're going to be at home. It matters. Just got to get a good performance out of Justin Herbert, because the Chargers are fighting right now, man. That's a team I thought would have been closer to 9 or 10 wins at this point in the season, and they're just battling, but they're still doing good. They're playing some good ball right now. They got to get it going. 8-6 ain't going to do it, man. We need a couple more wins. It's grind time right now, man.
It is. Okay. Are we ready to get into the picks, man? I think we are. All right. So let's lead off with our In the Weeds play. There's a couple options here this week. Why don't you start us off for In the Weeds plays?
So In the Weeds, obviously, typically we'd go some really, really like low watchable games, but this is going to be a watchable game still. It's just teams that we probably wouldn't watch if it wasn't bowl season. And I'm going to take San Diego State -6.5 against Middle Tennessee. I'm just a huge fan of San Diego State in this matchup. We really love their defense. I talked about it a lot earlier this week. Number 22 in points per game allowed. They did a really, really good job in the Mountain West. 4 of their last 6 games, they've allowed 14 points or less on defense. Everything about that defense is impressive to me. I think they can put up enough points on offense to get the job done. Middle Tennessee, in my opinion, sure, their offense isn't bad, but I don't think they've faced this kind of a defense. I think, the Mountain West is a little bit better than, the teams that Middle Tennessee's played. And you get the number 22 points per game allowed defense. I just think they step up. The fact that they've only allowed 14 points or less in 4 of those last 6 tells me they could go into this game and just really rely on that defense and cover the spread.
You know what? I'm on that same play. It wasn't my in the weeds play, but I feel like we should just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I really like what I've seen from San Diego State, and it's a much closer travel for them. You got to think about how far it is from Middle Tennessee State to make that trip. So yeah. I'm on this as well. I love it. Right now you can get it at 6.5. I'm seeing some
gorgeous, man.
So that's a beautiful number. I think they dominate that game. It's not that far travel, and I like it too. So I'm on that. But let me get to my in the weeds play. I actually have the New Mexico State Aggies, Bowling Green Falcons, Quick Lane Bowl. I'm going under 49 right now. You can get it at, I even saw 49.5 out there. I don't love it because it's in a dome. I usually strictly try to stay away from unders in a dome, but the New Mexico State quarterback got pretty banged up. New Mexico State's not a great offense anyway. Bowling Green, while their defense lets in a lot of points, they don't usually score a lot of points. I mean, they're a 6-6 MAC team versus a 6-6 team. I think New Mexico State's independent, but they only get in because they played Valparaiso at the end of the year and beat them 65-3. So they pounded a team that had no business being on the field. So we're going to go with it. I think the under's the play. I expected this number to be closer to 45. So a couple extra points, 49.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I like that you kind of broke down. You were like, you know what, 45 is where I'd put that number at. Because that really gives people an idea of like where this game probably should be at. Maybe Vegas is a little bit off because it's not a watchable game typically.
I just don't think it gets bet enough to where they're like really crunching the numbers. And
No, they got much bigger bowl games, and obviously like a ton of Christmas Eve basketball or Christmas Day basketball, Christmas Eve football, like everything's gonna be going on. They're focused on that. I might have to tail that, especially if I'm going down to the game.
Yeah,
because like even though that is in a dome, there's something to be said about playing in a dome like where there's not a ton of fans.
Yes, an empty dome.
There's not going to be vibes. New Mexico State's fans aren't going to be at that game. They're not. And at the same time, Bowling Green, like, sure, they got fans, but they're probably not traveling that much for this game. Weather's going to be really bad over in the East. So, we're in that Midwest, people aren't traveling on the 25th to the 26th for that game. I don't think so. I think it's a perfect look on the under. Not many fans there.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Just kind of an sort of noticed game. Okay. All right. So let's get into our best bets now, and I'll let you kind of hit that first.
All right. So I'll kind of start with my college play. So I'll hit you with one right now that I like. I'm going to take Louisiana Lafayette, so ULL, and Houston. We're going to take the over of 57. This is one I talked about a little bit earlier in the week. I really like that Houston offense. I think they've been a little bit underwhelming to many people for the majority of the year, but Clayton Tune has not. He's leading the country, 37 touchdowns passing. Like, he's still doing his thing. The rest of the team might not be doing their thing. And the Houston defense has not really done as much as they should have all year. And that's a big part of why I like this over. I think ULL can put up some points on Houston's defense. I think Clayton Tune will kind of get it going for the boys. He's going to be singing a different tune, throwing lots of touchdowns. I like over 57. That's not a big number to me. I'm gonna think this one goes up into the 60s. So over 57, perfect number to me.
That's a good number. I'm on Louisiana's +7 here against the spread. Houston, you got to look into. They typically do not get up for these games. They've lost a lot of them, especially Dana Holgorsen in general. He just doesn't take these bowls very serious. They may still score a lot of points. I don't know, but I just don't think the defense is going to be as locked in as they need to be. So I'm going to go Louisiana +7 for my first best bet and let you kind of hit the next one.
Yeah, man, I hope we get a little double dip on that, especially if Houston's defense lets us down. That would be perfect because it would make my, Clayton Tune and
just
those guys.
Just makes it easier.
Yep. Yeah, they'll just have to press. So I'm going to go to, I think you have a play on this one as well. So this is good because we can kind of both hammer a couple points.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Wake Forest -1.5 versus Missouri. We love Sam Hartman. This is a Sam Hartman podcast. We are all about our guy, Sam Hartman. I didn't even think he was going to play in this game. I thought maybe he'll opt out. Maybe he doesn't really care. But he's playing. He's got some pride. He's probably playing for a certain respect. I mean, he's been at this school for a couple years. This matters to him. And I don't think Mizzou is that good.
Agreed.
Some people might say, well, SEC, like whatever. Who cares? Missouri was not that good this year.
Missouri's barely an SEC team. Anyway.
Yeah, they're barely an SEC team. Did they have a couple games where they played really tight with a couple really good SEC schools? Sure. They looked really good against Georgia. I'm not going to take that away from them, but that was still a loss. And I think Wake Forest and Sam Hartman, like PG said to start the show, they're playing hard. They care about this. They wanted an SEC opponent. They want to impose their will. And Sam Hartman's going to be playing with a little bit of respect for himself. He wants some respect on his name. He's hoping maybe I can get kind of drafted high. I think our guy Sam Hartman balls out, man. -1.5 feels perfect to me. I know ACC compared to SEC isn't like as big of a thing.
Yes.
But Wake Forest, they're good, man. I like their pieces.
I'm on this same play too. A lot of the same reasons you already said, but I think that I don't remember how many the total is, but I know Missouri's best defensive lineman's out. He opted out of this, and he was the reason their defense played so well. Essentially, you had a double team him kind of guy. And so he's out and some other guys are out. That just gives me more reason. And as we said, Wake Forest coming into this, like just straight out said, we wanted an SEC team. So this is their chance. They got one. We'll see if they really want it or not. I'm on the same play. I think we got the much better offense, much better quarterback in a bowl game. That's all you kind of want.
Definitely. So I got 3 NFL plays. How many more plays do you have? Because I don't want to get us off kilter here.
Well, I've got 2 NFL plays. So you just start off and then you'll finish too.
All right, that's cool. So we're going to go to that Lions game. We got to go with the Lions. Start off the NFL, man. So we're going to take Lions and Panthers. I'm taking the under 43.5. Like I said, I'm not a homer. I'm not taking the Lions money line or spread, whatever. We got to talk about the Lions run defense, man. As much as we talked shit about this Lions defense to start the year, Lions defense has come to life, man. I don't know what Aaron Glenn did with that defense as defensive coordinator, but he's got these boys playing hot right now. Last 4 weeks, man, their run defense has been the best in the league. They held Saquon to 22 yards on 15 carries. They held ETN to 54 yards on 13 carries. Held Delvin Cook to 23 yards on 15 carries. And then last week against Zonovan Knight, 23 yards on 13 carries. Just ridiculous numbers in that rushing defense. And that's something that matters because I think this game's going to be very cold. I think it's going to, like they said, even down in North Carolina or South Carolina. North Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina. I'm getting my Carolinas mixed up here. But yeah, no, they said it's going to be cold, man. They said it's going to be windy. This is one where I think they're going to have to run the ball, both teams. And I think that the Lions having such a stout run defense right now is going to matter. I also think Jared Goff, as much as I love my guy Jared Goff and I want him to stunt on everybody, he's not the same quarterback on the road. He's not the same quarterback in the cold. He's a California kid, man. He played at Cal. Like he's a California kid. He doesn't play in that 30 degrees, and we play in a dome in Detroit, man. He's not used to that kind of stuff. So no disrespect to my guy JG, but like he ain't gonna play the same in 30-degree weather. I think it's gonna slow some things down. 43.5. I would have thought this would have been like 39. So I'm gonna take the under all day. I think it's a great look. Lions defense, you got to trust in them right now. They're playing some good ball.
Yes, definitely playing some good ball. Okay, so my first play, I'll go to Christmas Day. I'm going with that first game over. Green Bay, Miami over 50. Miami's just kind of a video game when they play. Their defense isn't particularly, stout or anything like that. They'll probably play a little better at home, but also Aaron Rodgers is starting to play a little bit better ball. They're starting to kind of find an identity, it feels like, a little bit on offense. And as I said, the way Miami plays is just the perfect over. The weather's going to be great in Miami. We don't have to worry about that. So I love this over 50. I think it's going to be electric. It's going to be a good time.
I like it, man. I like it. I will follow up with a play on that same game. So we might be able to double dip potentially.
All right.
A couple opportunities for that this weekend. But we're going to take Packers +4 at Miami.
Yes.
Man, that scares me because the Packers have played some bad football at times this year. But I think Rodgers is fully bought in on the idea that they can make a playoff run. Dolphins have lost 3 straight. They're not playing great football right now. I know they're going to be at home in this game. But I just think it's the classic situation of hashtag too many points. +4 is a big, big number in the NFL. And I think Aaron Rodgers, man, he's going to lock in. Things are going to be a little bit different. If they can run the ball at all on Miami, I think it opens some things up for him. We know Green Bay doesn't have a ton of receivers, but Watson's kind of come on. I think they got some things going in Green Bay, and I think they could travel on the road and at least lose this game by 3. You know what I mean? Like +4 is a big, big number. And you're right. I think this could be a high-scoring game, and that's all we need, man. Maybe we get that double dip. Like a 3-point Miami win would be perfect for all of us.
Yeah, we'd take that all day. That'd be fun. Okay, so my last, well, not my last NFL play, but the last one in best bets, I guess, at least. I'm going to go with the over in the Cowboys-Philadelphia game. It's a game in a dome. 46.5 is the number. I think Dallas defense, it's just taking too many plays off, and Philadelphia's shown to be a team that can make some explosive plays. I think the Cowboys end up winning this game, and I think they probably could put up some good numbers, especially if the game kind of starts to get out of hand. So I think maybe the Cowboys get most of this for us, but I think that there's no doubt that Gardner Minshew is good enough, that this Eagles offense has got enough good pieces. They're going to score some points too. So over 46.5 there.
Okay. I like it. We're going to go back to an under for my last best bet here. We're going to go to Commanders 49ers under 37.5. Give me this picture here because we got San Francisco's defense and we got Washington's defense, man. I called up Stevie Wonder. He said, I ain't never seen nothing like it. 2 solid defenses, man. We got that San Francisco defense, 15 points per game allowed, number 1 in the NFL. Washington's defense, 19.7 points per game allowed, number 9. So we got 2 top 10 defenses in scoring defense. I think Brock Purdy is finally going to be facing kind of a tough defense in that Commanders defense. He's going to struggle. We don't really think Washington's got a great offense in any aspect. So I think they're going to have all kinds of problems against the number 1 defense in the NFL. This game, I know 37.5 sounds ridiculously low, but I think it's a defensive game through and through. 49ers defense, man, nobody can touch them right now. Like they're that good. And I do think that Brock Purdy is going to hit some struggles at some point, and I think this is the week. I think that he has some issues. Commanders are going to be really bringing some pressure on him and kind of getting back in that pocket. I think this is the week where we kind of see one of those games where 49ers probably still win it, but they probably get in an ugly, ugly fashion. So under 37.5 there is what I like.
Okay, there you have it from the man himself. So let's get to – that was your last pick, right?
Yeah, last year.
Now we're good for moneyline dogs. I'm going with kind of a long dog, but I'm trusting myself a little bit here. I'm going to go Louisiana Lafayette, plus 220 on the money line, playing Houston, who I've already noted they usually just don't play very hard in these kind of spots. It's a huge number for us. So obviously if we get it, plus 220 dogs, pretty sweet. But I think they've got it's a coin flip game to me. And hopefully we score a bunch of points. We end up winning Louisiana Lafayette and Beast hits us over. That'd be awesome. But so I'm going ULL on the money line.
I like it, man. I really do. I think that's a good look because we could get a little bit of a double dip there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to a game that we haven't actually even touched on yet. We previewed it a little bit, but I'm going to take the Patriots money line, plus 140 at home versus the Bengals. This is a really, really good buy low spot, because you're getting the Patriots after one of the most unbelievable losses, a backwards pass during like a meaningless play. Really.
A tied game.
Yeah, a tied game that should have went to overtime, like meaningless loss, like unbelievable. I haven't seen anything like that in a while. And that really was such a fluke, because everybody's going to see that and they're going to be like, well, Patriots lost last week, so they're coming off loss. No, perfect buy low spot. Buy low off that. They were probably embarrassed. Belichick probably lit the locker room up after that. He was on Jacoby Myers and all the boys for that. perfect home spot, because it's going to be cold. Very, very cold. We're going to get a Bill Belichick masterclass, if you ask me, of these cold, nasty games in Foxborough, where you just kind of see one of those games where Bill Belichick just kind of drafts something up a little bit different. Patriots still in that full push mode at 7-7. They're trying to make the playoffs. We get one of these games where everybody would look at Joe Burrow and the Bengals, who have been playing really good football, and they'd think, duh, of course the Bengals win. And Bill Belichick says, no, I'm still Bill Belichick. We're going to win this game. I think Patriots could win this one at home. Really, really good advantage at home, if you ask me, with that cold weather.
I like it, man. And I just checked. There's a lot of money on your side in that one. So that's always a good place to be.
Like that a lot.
Yeah, that's always a great place to be. So let's get our pod parlay in before we end the show. Do we want to try to stick with one of our double dips or where you want to go?
So I have a play that's not on yours, so we can go separate because the double dip didn't go our way last week. So we'll go back to the standard, right? So we'll get it going.
Okay, so for mine, I want San Diego State -6.5. We've already kind of talked about it. I think they're the better team there, so that's where I'm going. What are you thinking?
Okay, so we'll have one college and then we'll have one pro. So we're gonna go to Lions Panthers under 43.5.
Okay,
man, I talked about how much I like that run defense. I don't think Jared Goff plays well in the cold. I just think a lot of things going our way. Lions defense playing a different kind of ball. Jared Goff not the same offense that he's going to bring. It's a good look to me at 43.5. I think both those games are on Saturday, so we still kind of get a double dip.
Yeah, same day. So that puts us at 265. They're both on the 24th, but your game's at noon, and then my game is at 7. So
okay, we could really lead into that Christmas Eve dinner, baby.
Exactly.
We have a lot riding on that. Everybody's gonna be looking at us under the table, looking at the phone,
watching freaking San Diego State play.
I love it, man. I love it. There's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, good content coming this weekend. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. It's been a really fun show this year. Like we said, we'll try to be back on Tuesday morning for you guys with a big recap show. And also we've got a bunch of midweek bowls to talk about. We'll have a bunch of playoff scenarios to talk about for the NFL as well. It's going to be a great show. Hope to see you guys there. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff on the YouTube and Spotify, wherever you take this in at. We appreciate it very much. And I will see you guys soon. Peace.
Merry Christmas, guys.